G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. It's episode 96 of the Emergency Storage Shed Cleanout series. We have one last solitary box to get off this steel shelving here. Then we've got to work out if we're going to move the shelving out or use it for something. And what are we going to do with the space? Well, at the moment, we're just making space as much as we can. I need to get some things out of the carport into here eventually and set it up as part of my workshop. Let's have a look in this last box and see what we'll discover today. It's some decent solid metal racking, so it's useful. I don't want to sell it, but I'll have to find somewhere to put it if I do move it. All right, there's our lone box hiding down the bottom. We did have a quick peek in there a couple of weeks ago, and it looked quite interesting. So let's have a second peek now, and then we'll get it through to the workbench. All right, there's a heavy steel box. I think that was sockets. We have a couple of old tins. Ross, I think, commented and he thought this might be golden fleece. I think it's the wrong yellow for golden fleece. It might be shell. It might not even be oil, petrol related. There's some interesting looking things. It looks like some insulators in there. All right, let's drag that box through. It looks pretty heavy, actually. It's heavy enough that I thought it would be wise to take that socket set off the top of it. No sense straining my back and shoulders any more than necessary. I'll go and get that, then we'll go through it. Okay, well, yeah, it is a socket set. It's incomplete and it's got a few other bits in it. We'll do that first, I think, and get it out of the road. Okay, it almost looks army green. I don't know that it was necessarily military. This looks like a little socket set. Oh, what's left of one. Alright, these usually had the set of sockets and they often had like a giant Allen key clipped in the lid. And they drive from that. So I don't think there's much value there. They're pretty rusty. We have a 1/2 inch extension, another 1/2 inch drive, double-ended drive tool. There's a Sidchrome 316 Whitworth socket on there. I might hang on to that one. I'm trying to build up a set of Sidchrome Whitworth sockets. A random spanner here, HM. It's 10mm, 14mm, probably just in the dollar box. I'm getting so many spanners lately. That's some sort of brass fitting. We'll get a bit of scrap there. Another 1/2 inch extension. That's actually marked Department of Defence. I wonder if this whole socket set was an Army issue socket set. Well, we better check that one too. So we'll clean these up and see exactly what marks they have. There's another drive there. Hasn't been moved for a long time. A little universal joint. Alright, that's been cut off with the oxy. It's all melted that in, just some scrap metal. A little pipe sleeve. There's the driver, possibly for these. The right size hex. No, unless that's just a bit rusty. Oh, it could be. Yeah, I think it is. Just a bit rusty in there. I guess we better clean these up too, just to make sure that they're not Army issue. It kind of makes a difference to the value. So these sockets could be random ones. They might have been part of this set. I think we're just going to have to clean them up. Bit of a... Oh, that's an exhaust gasket. No good. Don't know what that's out of. A roofing nail. A grease nipple. Just some random stuff. Probably from a farmer's kit where everything gets mixed up. Alright, I don't think we've got a lot of value here, but I'm keen to clean up some of these socket bits just to see if they are military. We'll clean the box up as well. It certainly does look like Army issue. It may date back to World War II. May not have been a war issue one, of course. It might have just been military. Anyway, we'll sort that out, clean it up, get back to it later. Let's have a look in this other box. Okay, do we have much value in this mixed bag? It certainly looks like a variety of things. Well, that's marked Walker, and these are fence or wire strainers, whereas you would run the wire through the post. This goes on the back of the post. The wire goes through the center hole, and then you use a piece of metal or a screwdriver or whatever you've got handy, and you can then crank this, and it basically winds the wire up around the center of the spool. So it's a fairly primitive but quite effective wire strainer. Walkers, it's nice having them branded because some of them aren't. That one's a Walkers as well. And I would probably get $5 each for those. This is a handle from something, it looks familiar. It may suit an old saucepan, fry pan, something like that. Detachable handle. Can't quite remember where I've seen one like that, but I think that's what it was probably for. A large spanner, and it's Eagle brand. It's imperial sizes, made in England. Nice big old spanner, that one. We'd probably get $10 for that. It will actually clean up really well. Nice example of an early English spanner. This is a wire wound resistor, and it's probably 1940s or so. I'm not sure what it's from, but it's essentially a variable resistor or a potentiometer, and quite a fairly sturdy one. I wonder if it still works. We could probably measure the resistance across there, although that will be a fixed resistance. The resistance from the center to one end will give you the variation. Yeah, don't know what it's off. Probably Bakelite, but it looks 1950s or so. And this is also electrical, I think. Oh no, I thought it might have been a telephone, one of the old telephone things that you're talking to, but I think it might be, it's a feather in it. I think it might be like an electric fence wire handle. What's it say on the end? I might have been right first go. I think it's Bakelite. Ah, no, I was right the first time. It actually says Stromberg Carlson Telephone Manufacturing Company. So was that the earpiece you held up to your ear? I'm not sure exactly what sort of phone it fits, but it appears to be undamaged. So that could be quite a valuable spare part for someone that restores old phones. Yeah, it's not cracked or anything. It would actually clean up quite well. Not sure what value to put on that, but yeah, from an early telephone. Okay, let's go for this tin. Alright, it's neither Golden Fleece or Shell. It is automotive. It's oil coal. Best for the first run. So it's like a running in oil. Best for the long run. Australian distributors, industrial specialist. So there you go. That will actually clean up quite well. Oil coal. Okay, concentrated colloidal graphite. Interesting. Protection for all industrial machinery, cars, trucks, tractors, roller chains, and a number of other uses. So it's probably going to be very black and dirty if it's got graphite in it, but I think we'll clean it up. It actually feels like it's still full. I'm not going to disturb it. I'll just wash up the tin. Hopefully the lid's nice and tight and stays on. But a good little tin that. I'll have to look that up to see what it's worth. Looks 1940s, early 50s, maybe 50s from the car. I would be thinking $30, $40, maybe more if it's rare. I haven't seen one before. Another tin here. What's in this one? Oh, this is paint. Pure high-grade paint. D&W Chandler, Fitzroy in Melbourne, so it's Aussie. And that hasn't got a paper label. That's actually a printed can. That's a really nice early example of a can of paint. I think it's solid. I don't think we'll open the lid. I think we'll just clean that up as it is. What a great old can of paint. Fantastic. Hopefully it cleans up really well. It looks like it might. Not sure what value to put on that either. It'll have to be at least $20. Okay, we have an oil lamp burner. Just a single burner. It's obviously off a broken lamp. There's the remains of the font or the bowl. So it looks a bit corroded around the threads. And it's a bit squashed in there. So yeah, it might not be much good. The brass is so thin on these and it tends to go, it almost rots. It breaks away. It's like it has some sort of corrosion and it just breaks down. I think it says England on the winder there, the wick winder. Yeah, I'll keep that though, just in case I need some parts off it. It's pretty early. It'd be early 1900s. It could even be late Victorian. And there could be some parts off there that are useful. So not much value, but handy for parts. All right, here we have a wooden pulley. That's really cool. So metal framework at the top, timber body, metal rollers that mostly work. Oh yeah, this one's a bit stiff, but it works. Really nice pulley there. That looks quite an old piece. We'll just give that a wash up. I think that will sell very nicely in the shop for probably $30 or $40. It's quite a nice one, and the timber looks in good condition. We're getting some good value items out of here. All right, a couple of insulators. These are Japanese made. They would be probably mid-century 1950s or thereabouts. Nothing special going for them. I normally sell these for about $5 each in the shop. If someone collects insulators, it's nice to have a darker colour, made in Japan symbol on them. But I don't think they're likely to be very rare. All right, this end we have a little Sphinx spark plug. Quite an old one. Well, it's actually got 3 electrodes, well, 1 electrode and 3 earth prongs. Bit unusual, very rusty. It looks like it spent time in the dirt. But people do collect spark plugs. I'll have to check out the Sphinx brand. It probably certainly could be restored. The ceramic part's not broken. And these can be disassembled, not like your modern spark plugs that are all molded. You can actually undo that top collar and the whole porcelain piece will come out so you can clean the electrode properly. That certainly could be restored and brought back to use. Nice piece. Maybe $5. I don't know how rare it is. A Bakelite knob off something. We'll put that with the radio one or the variable resistor. A nice old padlock. It still moves. The shackle moves. It's been bent. Don't think there's a key for it. It's just a classic old steel padlock. That's probably even been forced, you know. It's quite bent. Someone's possibly broken into something. I'll just give that a quick clean up. I don't expect it's worth a lot. We might get $10 for it, depending on how it cleans up. Another radio knob off something. Now we have a brass tap, like on a fuel line on an early engine. I'd probably ask $5 for that if I cleaned it up and put it in the shop. What are these things? Oh, this could be more of the telephone. Yes. No, I don't think that goes on there. I'm not sure where it goes, but I think this is all part of the telephone. I'll have to do some checking on that. A little item down here is a cutter from a sheep shearing handpiece. I've got a box of those at the shop. I'll throw that one there. No real value on its own. A very nice old hood ornament or mascot. Don't know what it suits. Looks very 1950s. And that will clean up quite well. The chrome looks okay. A little bit bubbly in a few places, but I wonder if we can identify what it's off. But yeah, nice early hood ornament. That's going to be worth some dollars too. I'll have to do some checking on a lot of these. Now some soldering irons. A couple of large soldering irons. These clean up quite well. And when the copper is polished up, they look great. That one's got a fair lump of copper on it. That's a slightly different design. Probably $5 and maybe $10 for the big one, depending on how well they clean up. This is a bicycle spanner. It possibly has a brand on it, but not a great deal. We might get $5 for it though. A glass lens from the tail light or brake light of an early car. It's probably been dug up somewhere. It's got a big chip off that side. It's chipped around the edge. I don't really think that's worth trying to sell. If anyone is going to replace one of these, you could probably get reproductions now. Although I doubt they'd be in glass. Yeah, no value there, I don't think. Bit damaged. There's the centre out of a water tap. One of the ones that you just do half a turn and it's fully on. It is brass, so probably go in our brass bins if nothing else. This is a grease cup off a machine. Does that say System Storfer? I'm not sure about that. We'll clean it up. So the cap that screws onto your machine, and the cap unscrews, and you fill it with grease, and you screw the cap down and it forces grease into the machinery. So interesting, it's got a name on it. We might check that, maybe $5. Have to clean it up though. Another tin here, we have Repo Water Rubbing Compound. I guess that's a polish, is it? Bit rusty on the tin, but automotive I would imagine. Is it Australian made? Sydney, Australia. For rubbing down and polishing all lacquered surfaces in one operation. Or maybe it's not automotive. Anyway, we might get $10 for that. Old tins and advertising are certainly collectible. A oil pressure gauge from a case, I presume a tractor. The actual gauge doesn't look really that flash. Yeah, it might still make a few dollars. We'll see if we can clean that up a bit better. A glass knob from some early furniture probably. A porcelain caster off the bottom of a chair leg. An interior light. We had some of these recently. In fact, I sold them through the shop and I did get $10 each, if you remember those. This one hasn't got the rest of it. It's just basically the lens and the bezel or the surround. Interesting design. Don't know if we could identify what it's off, but I'll clean that up. We might get $10 for that too, I think. And we have a key. I don't think that key suits the padlock, does it? No, it's too small. It's more of a cupboard key. Yeah. And the rest of the box is just various pieces of furniture hardware. We have some drawer handles here. These look brass, but I suspect they're cast iron. Indeed they are. But they're quite a nice design, and there's enough of them to... We've got 5. Do we have 6? No, 5 of them. We'll still call them a set of 5, and would get $10 for that, I'm sure. And the other ones, we have some Art Deco style ones here. These are often nickel-plated brass. There's only 2 of those. And then these are much more common. You find these on old dressing tables all the time. And again, they're probably nickel-plated brass. And we have 2 of those. And then that's off a 1950s kitchen dresser with the push button. So I have a box of assorted hardware in the shop for I think $2 each or something like that. That's where all these are going to go. I'm not even going to wash them up. I'll just give them a brush off so that they're not so dirty. And they can go in the container at the shop. I think we'll sell these other ones as a set though. And that's the end of our box. What an interesting box. Whoa, what an interesting box lot. The box itself isn't that interesting. It says Penrith. That's in New South Wales. It's just basically a crate that someone's repurposed. But it's quite well made, and I should be able to get at least $5 in the shop, or I might be able to use it to put stuff in for sale. So there we go. I better clean some stuff up and we'll get the notepad out. Now it's time to go through this lot with a look at the notepad, but before we do that, let's just check out a few things. I've cleaned a lot of these up, really just with warm soapy water and steel wool. Some of the things I did buff up with the wire wheel. These are telephone parts. I think that one and that one actually make up the receiver. There's a part missing from inside, which is the earpiece. On either a candlestick phone or a wall phone, I couldn't actually identify this, but I think it is from a phone as well. I'm just going to put those 3 together in the shop at $10. Someone that does phone repairs or collects them will jump at that, I'm sure. Nothing unusual there. The pulley block cleaned up very nicely, and I do like that. The tins cleaned up great. Really nice, actually. That's not a rare one. I found a few online. It is some sort of polish, and I think I went $15 on that, but it's great colours. And the paint tin cleaned up really well. I've just smeared some beeswax over it after cleaning it up, and I scrubbed the top a bit so it's much more presentable. And I think that's about 1930s, so there wouldn't be too many 1930s cans of paint around. Obviously the paint's no good, but what a great tin. Melbourne history. The these things I'm just going to keep. I did put an ohms meter on that, and the wire actually has a break, so it's not working, but I will keep it in case I need some parts, because I'm likely to do restorations on older stuff down the track, and it's good to have a supply of those parts. The case meter, I couldn't get into it. I was going to clean the face up, but I think it's sealed. When I say meter, it's an oil pressure gauge. Just went $5 on that. And this is a grease cap, and I looked up this brand. They were often, I think they were German, and they were used on some early military equipment, but that one's actually been broken off. It's supposed to have thread there that screw into some machinery housings, and it's been broken off. I just went $5. It's a pretty cool piece. Now, what else have we got here? I've cleaned these other things up just a bit. Nothing outstanding there, pretty well as we discussed earlier. The Sphinx spark plug cleaned up quite well. I think I went $10 on that. 5 on the bike spanner, 5 on the brass tap. I just buffed that up on the wire wheel. The soldering irons did clean up quite nicely. These sockets, I think I'll just put $5 on them. They're not actually branded. I couldn't find a brand on them. But, you know, with their original box, there's a little hex drive there. And then there's a straight one. I'm not sure how you're supposed to drive them with a straight shaft, whether you actually put a spanner or something on the end of that, or a shifter or something. Anyway, we'll just go $5 on that kit. We'll talk about that hood ornament in a second. A little bit of scrap brass. The box washed up fine. I might use that in the shop as display, but I did write down $5 for it. And this set is actually all branded. It's branded Ost Alloy, which was an Australian company. I think it was connected with Healing, that made bicycles in the early days, and also radios and fridges and stuff later on. So they're all branded Ost Alloy with the Department of Defence D. Every single socket and fitting has that brand on it, so it's all part of the original set. The army box itself cleaned up quite well, and it's got this stamped on the end of it. So it's part of an army toolkit. I'm going to put $50 on it. I'm not sure what it's really worth, but it's pretty much a complete set, I reckon. All the sockets are pretty good. I cleaned them all up, and they've all got that Department of Defence symbol on them. So a nice set there, a bit of a surprise. I think we'll get 50 for that. You don't find those every day of the week. Now, what else have we got? I think that's it. Let's talk about this hood ornament. Now, for a start, the wings, when I first showed it, were actually upside down. Someone had put it together the wrong way, and it made it a little difficult for me to research it because I couldn't find anything the same. Turns out it's GMH Holden. It's got GMH stamped on there somewhere. And it suits the early FJs and FX. So it's quite a nice piece, and they bring pretty good money. So I would expect that to make at least $100, probably more if I put it on eBay. I might put it in the shop because then I don't have fees, but I did see a few on eBay. One of them sold with multiple bids for $140, and it had a little bit of pitting. In fact, I think it was a bit worse than mine. This has the original mounting screws still in it. So I'm probably going to put it in the shop for about $120 or something like that. I just wrote down 100 on the list, but that's by far the best piece out of this lot. But we did have some pretty good value stuff, and consequently, our notepad adds up to almost $400, $375. And as I said, if I go $125 on the hood ornament, then that actually gets us to $400. But I'll leave that as it is, because if I eBay it, there'd be fees involved. I wrote down $5 for sundries just because there was some of these door handles and $1 spanner and stuff like that. But all the other prices were pretty well as discussed all the way through. So it adds up quite astoundingly. So $375 from one small box. What a beauty. But wait, I forgot about this little yellow tin, the oil coal graphite lubrication tin. Cleaned up pretty good, not quite as nice as I'd hoped. It's a little bit faded on the front. I did get the top all cleaned up nicely, and it was out in the sun drying when I did my conclusion. Forgot all about it. I know you guys would have let me know, so luckily I found it. I reckon I'm going to try and put $20 on it. It still is full, and it's a nice Australian oil or lubrication related tin, so I think we'll get about $20 for that. So that essentially takes our total to about $400. I reckon I'll do much better on the hood ornament, so add $400 to our total of our tally for that shed, and we're at $15,660. And this was a really good box, $400 hiding on the bottom of that steel cabinet. and we've finished that cabinet now. Next week we're forging deeper into that shed, so stay tuned. We'll catch you then. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.